Wait, so Halloween is the old school biblical Halloween is the reason why the 12 tribes were scattered?
Bingo.
These people, this gives me nightmares.
Where do these crazy rituals pop up again? They actually pop up in the Book of Mormon.
That's a whole new level of crazy and evil. Okay, isn't that the creepiest thing? Those are like original trick-or-treaters. And I think
terrifying.
we need to bring back those costumes.
And it's called the sin of Jeroboam. And prophets would come to him and they'd say, this is bad, you got to stop it. And he'd say, no, man. And they'd say, you're going to be cursed. No way, man. You don't understand me, Dad. And finally it ended with scattering of the 10 tribes. And that's why the 10 tribes were scattered, because they were celebrating this weird pagan holiday.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio on FM 98.1. I am your host, Cardinellis. I'm joined in the studio today by none other than Jonah Barnes, editor-at-large of all the coolest apocrypha on the West Coast, and Brittany the Shadow. And today we've got a super interesting topic. I love it when you come into the studio, Jonah, because you bring me the most incredible thumbnails for these YouTube videos and titles for these radio programs. I can't believe I'm reading this, but it is germane to the holiday. The true biblical origins of Halloween. Today we're going to be talking about the true biblical origins of Halloween. I love this. It sounds like a sermon mixed with a conspiracy theory all at once. It's like just this Gnostic gospel of the Day of the Dead or something. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's cool. So tell us, what are the true biblical origins of Halloween, my friend? This is exciting.
All right. Well, the every sermon should be half conspiracy theory. I feel like all the best sermons have a little conspiracy theory thrown in there.
Yes.
Yes. So actually, yes, the Bible hints at the true origin of Halloween, people. We don't know it, but we are celebrating a holiday that is described. It begins in the book of Kings, 1 Kings. But first, before we get to that, the deeper origins, there's a few little things that people don't realize about the origins of Halloween. So trick-or-treating is the thing everybody recognizes. Trick-or-treating is not biblical at all. Trick-or-treating just comes from Guy Fawkes Day. Okay, Guy Fawkes Day, which is November the 5th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's in the Discord, there's a little picture of the kids surrounding the penny for the guy. So weird Englishmen, I don't know why they do this. When they want to honor somebody, they burn them. I don't know. Somehow that doesn't connect with me. I love this guy. I'm going to create a life-size model.
Like Tinsdale.
And then burn him. Yeah, I don't know. But that's their thing. So to honor Guy Fawkes, who tried toppling the entire parliament on November the 5th, they would make effigies of him, a big dummy of him. And the kids would do it. And if they made it look really good, people would tip them.
Okay.
So to make a really life-looking effigy, and then the kids would sit out with it, and they'd say, hey, look at this poor guy. He's so poor. Could you throw him a penny? Penny for the guy.
Yeah.
And people would say, oh, wow, that looks pretty. You caught me,
I'm
kid.
digging this because one of my favorite films, top 5 by the Wachowski brothers, all right, was none other than V for Vendetta. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot.
I know
How's it
no
go, babe?
reason.
I say this as a bedtime. I'm not kidding.
I know of no reason.
The gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
Yeah, this is literally a bedtime story for my children.
Oh, I love it. I love that movie. Yeah,
so I didn't
great.
realize, though, in all of my years of fanboying, none other than V for Vendetta, that I was fanboying the origin story of trick-or-treating.
That's right. That's where it comes from. And for all you etymologists out there, Brittany.
Yes,
that's
me.
The word guy in the English language
was pronounced Gui, right?
Comes from his name, from that guy. They'd say penny for Guy because it was a Spanish name, and the Englishmen would shorten it to Guy. They'd say, hey, penny for my friend Guy. And so a big guy, a big looking masculine figure became synonymous with guy. That's what the word came. That's where the actual origins of the word G-U-I, guy, in the English language come from. They come from Guido, the name of Guido Fawkes. Isn't that weird?
Wow, that is so cool. I dig it. Okay, so we know the origin of trick-or-treating now, which is not biblical. It actually goes back to V for Vendetta, the original gangster Guy Fawkes, right?
Correct.
I have to thank Guy Fawkes for trick-or-treating because that's my favorite holiday.
There you go. Guy Fawkes is the one. So the kids would say, doesn't he look great? Isn't he lifelike? If he's really lifelike, give me a treat. Did I trick you? okay, give me a treat. And they'd say, okay, and they'd give them a treat if it looked really realistic.
That's cool.
And that kind of morphed into costumes and things like that. That's the kind of more innocent part of it.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into the not so innocent part of it.
That's
Okay?
fine. That's fine.
Right.
So,
cool. Old
once
Testament stuff. I bet.
Once upon a time, we're going to go way back. Okay. Once upon a time, doodly-doo, in the past. In Leviticus chapter 23, okay, the Lord sets out these feasts. And one of the feasts is the Feast of the Tabernacles. And he says it'll take place in the 7th month. And it's the Feast of the Tabernacles right at the beginning of autumn. And it's a holy day, a sacred day. And it happens actually to be exactly when Joseph Smith, founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, talked to the angels. And he didn't know what the Feast of Tabernacles was.
Oh,
but they all show up on the first day.
They're trying to celebrate now. I believe it's called Moroni Day.
Moroni
the
Day.
colloquialism that I've heard.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Which actually is just the Feast of the Tabernacles. That's exactly when they would all come to visit Joseph Smith. He had no concept of this, of course.
Yeah.
But that's when they would start. Anyways, Feast of the Tabernacles. Well, fast forward beyond Leviticus when the kingdoms of Israel are split into two groups. You have the southern kingdom and you have the northern kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. And there were the two brothers, Jeroboam and Rehoboam, and they were the kings. And Jeroboam was in the north, but Jerusalem was in the south. And so all the feasts and offerings and festivals would all be in the other kingdom. And Jeroboam didn't like this.
That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, he's like, well, this bites. He's like, what the heck? Everybody's going, and they'd take all their money and all their caravans, and they'd all go south, and they'd celebrate in Jerusalem and leave Jeroboam up there in the north all alone. And he was like, well, this totally bites. We need some holidays of our own. And
was
so
he sitting there listening to that song that you see on TikTok? Lonely.
Did they say winter
so
is coming?
lonely.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And he was sitting, you can see him on his throne listening to it, just like,
Yeah.
my own holiday.
Or like whenever you see that meme of the guy that played the Colombian drug lord Escobar,
Yes.
like waiting in his
Waiting
empty
by the
pool.
pool.
Yeah. So that was poor Jeroboam.
It was based off that meme actually.
Okay. Yes. Excellent. All right.
So Jeroboam is up there in the north, and he says, well, this bites. We need our own holiday, except mine's going to have, and crack. He's like, no, mine's going to be super cool and be more exciting. So he decides to make a holiday, and instead of, going to where you should worship at the temple, he says, we're going to worship golden calves. And it's going to be flashy. It's going to be cool. And there's going to be lights. And there's going to be ladies. And it's going to be, and
dude, nothing brings the house down like a golden calf,
And so in the Discord, I put the reference to this in 1 Kings 12. You can read about this. He says he's up in the north all alone. And he says in verse 27, if this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord. They're going to like the southern kingdom better, not me. Even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah. Well, that's not fair. So the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold. And he said, don't go to Jerusalem. It's too far. Come up here to Dan. And he built a kind of a party place.
Yeah, dude,
up in Dan.
I'm feeling you. Okay.
To have his own kind of party up there.
A great and spacious building.
Ooh, great and spacious parties are the best.
Snap.
And in verse 31, he says he made priests of the lowest of the people, and lowest in this sense means like the basest, like not wholesome people.
Are we talking like harlots and publicans here, or
like
what?
some bad mamma jammas.
Oh,
and
like mafiosos?
No,
like,
it actually, in the footnotes it says mamma jamma. It's the original Hebrew. Bad mamma jammas. They were not the sons of Levi. So he was making his own priests out of people who shouldn't be priests. He's making golden calves. He's got lights. He's got music. He's got ladies. It's just the coolest, most happening holiday, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 17 actually, verse 17. It describes this. It says they worshipped Baal, and they used divination and enchantments, wizards and witches.
Kind of liking this.
And that sounds like a sweet party. All right.
You would want to go.
Here's the not so fun part. In verse 17, they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's not the fun part.
That's not the fun part.
Yeah. So that's where that script comes.
Well, you're at a party and they're passing around, and then before you know it, people are passing their sons and daughters through the fire.
It's like, yeah, sweet. This party's gotten great. They've showed up with the booze. They already showed up with the ladies. It's time to just start baby burning.
Sacrificing your
It's
it's natural. Who among us hasn't?
What kids though? Like, were they like not their own kids? Is that what it said?
Good question. I think it was their own kids.
It was their own kids.
I think it was their own kids.
Dude, I have seen every single documentary on this scriptural verse and every single every single theory based upon archaeological evidence of all of this, and none of it's good. You know what I'm saying?
It's all bad.
None of it's good.
Oh yeah,
it's like choosing. It's like trying to choose which World War II dictator was less fascist. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
it's down.
But like putting your own kid in no kid should ever be sacrificed like that, right? But like doing it to that's a whole new level of crazy and evil.
Well, we're not far off today. Anyway, but you can understand why in verse 18 it says, the Lord was very angry.
Yes.
That's a very soft way of putting it. The Lord was PO'd. And so because of this holiday and the pagan things they were doing, the Lord did what? He scattered the 10 tribes. They were in the northern kingdom doing this bad stuff. And that's when the Syrians came and the Lord let it happen. And they took the 10 tribes off to the hollow earth or whatever it is.
Okay.
Where the parties are hopping in the hollow earth. So that was the reason why. And it's called the sin of Jeroboam. The sin of Jeroboam. And that's what the reference is. And prophets would come to him and they'd say, this is bad, you got to stop it. And he'd say, no, man. And they'd say, you're going to be cursed. No way, man. You don't understand me, Dad. And finally it ended with the scattering of the 10 tribes. And that's why the 10 tribes were scattered, because they were celebrating this weird pagan holiday. Now, the next place where all of a sudden it starts happening is in all these northern countries, in Russia, in Scotland, in England, and in Scandinavia.
Wait, so are you saying that all the surrounding countries surrounding Israel started copying this party that was the sin of Jeroboam in the Old Testament, and that's the birthplace and the origin story of Halloween?
Well, these tribes, the actual children of Israel themselves, get scattered up into these northern countries. And then all of a sudden you start getting these weird pagan holidays in these northern countries.
Wait, so Halloween is the old school biblical Halloween is the reason why the 12 tribes were scattered?
Bingo. And we're celebrating it today with candy and all this stuff, right?
Wow.
You're kind of ruining Halloween for me.
Well, there's two halves. That's why we went over two halves. There's the fun half, the fun candy half. And then there's the sacrificing your children on an altar half. That's the not as fun.
I like the candy route.
Yeah. Well, tomatoes. Some people are. You can't please everybody. But anyway, so then you have like these weird holidays like Samhain.
You're like tomatoes, Mars bars, infants.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, whatever you're into.
All right,
but then you see these holidays pop up, and they all have these reminiscent. They all have like a bull. The Samhain is the festival of the bull, and that's where the English get Halloween from. That's where we get it from. It's from the festival of the bull, Samhain, and they're worshiping a bull. And what was Baal? He was represented by a bull.
Represented by a bull, or by the corporeal representation that, ironically enough, was on the back of the temple shekels in silver.
So how do you explain the running of the bulls? Are all the Spaniards literally running away from paganism?
Well, yes, they were. Those are the children who weren't put through the fire, running for their lives.
They were quite athletic.
They were very athletic. No, so then here's a last little piece. Where do these crazy rituals pop up again? They actually pop up in the Book of Mormon. But wait a minute, how could they have gotten all the way across the ocean? Well, Lehi and his family were actually from the tribe of Manasseh, which was in the north, but they were refugees from the north who escaped down to the southern kingdom before it was scattered, right? Because Lehi is happening in 600 BC, which is 120 years after the scattering. So they're refugees who bring down their northern traditions and their northern holidays and their northern practices and these things. And eventually they get scattered off they cross the ocean, they come to the New World. And so when Laman and Lemuel break off from Lehi and Nephi and these guys to do their own thing, they revert back to the practices of the northern kingdoms. And so you have ritual human sacrifice, you have the You have the same cults, the same crazy pagan holidays in the New World that you had in the Old. And that, boys and girls, is where we get Halloween.
Wow.
There you go.
That is super cool.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Dude, I'm digging.
Yeah, man.
No, I feel like I've got I don't want to say fact check because that would insinuate that, you did.
That what?
You're not batting 1,000. But I feel like I need to, not fact check, but I need to learn more so that I even know, holy smoke, this is like a tapestry. Like what you just wove for me is literally like a tapestry. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Halloween really is just the amalgamation of candy giving to children who used to burn a political misanthrope turned hero.
It's a long road.
Okay, so how do you explain trunk or treats?
Well,
Should
trunk or
we
treats
not be
are
doing
That's
that?
true.
members of the church who don't want their kids just wandering around the neighborhoods. You know what's fun? Actually, oh shoot, I wish I had a picture. You know what my family do for trunk or treats?
What do you do?
We use one of my delivery trucks, and we open the back and we build a haunted house in the back of the delivery truck, and then
That's
park it in
cool.
the parking lot so the kids can walk through the
Well,
haunted
for those of
That's
you,
cool.
for those who are listening, and for our radio audience here, that doesn't know what you do because they're not familiar with you from previous episodes. What do? You are a professional.
I'm a gluten-free judger. No, that's not. No, sorry. No, I'm a baker. I own a commercial bakery, wholesale bakery.
Wow, that is great, and that's straight biblical, bro.
I know, dude.
So wow,
Yeah, podcasting, not in the Bible, Carden. Okay.
Yeah.
Bread, all over it.
yeah,
All over
radio, not in the New Testament either.
Not in the New Testament.
Wow, holy smoke. Okay,
man.
so trick or treat. I just want to. I literally, I have to try and reweave this tapestry really
man.
fast. Summarize it, if you will. So you're saying that trick or treating is kind of a little bit more of a secular / political thing because back in England, in celebration of Guy Fawkes Day, who many people say was the only person who entered Parliament with noble intentions, actually,
jeez, that's savage.
yeah, it's a pretty
my
savage. That's in
gosh.
the intro of V for Vendetta, right? Or at least it's on his Wikipedia page. I don't remember.
I dig that movie though.
But yeah, so Guy Fawkes Day is celebrated on the 5th of November. And it was sometime in like the 15 or 1600s, something like that.
Yeah.
There was this guy named Guy Fawkes who literally secretly snuck barrels and barrels and barrels and barrels of gunpowder into the basement of Parliament in England, literally with the intention of, like, this is hundreds of years before who was the bomber that used all of the fertilizer? Not the Unabomber. He was the package bomber. Who was the bomber that blew up the side of the Federal Building in the late 90s? He was in solitary confinement for a long time. It was long before the, oh my gosh, do you remember the name of it, Brittany the Shadow? Who was the name of the famous bomber that blew up that Federal Building? Okay, either way.
I don't know.
Long before North American domestic terrorism, okay? Long before you had the IRA in the Troubles.
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, Timothy McVeigh.
There you
Eons before Timothy McVeigh, all right? There was this dude named Guy Fawkes who straight up smuggled barrels and barrels and barrels of highly explosive gunpowder into the basement of Parliament. And apparently he had enough gunpowder underneath there to literally level like 3 Parliament buildings or something, okay? But ultimately, because it was a long process, he didn't just have to get one in there. He was getting multiples and multiples and multiples in there. And apparently they were under there for a little while, and if the worst, most apocryphal accusations against him are true, he was waiting for them to actually be in session. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, the November 5th was the day that the king visited Parliament, I think.
Yeah.
And so the whole government was going to be in one room at one time. Everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it was the day of. Somebody tipped him off. Somebody
exactly
slipped it, told him, and they found him there, just hours from lighting the fuse.
Yeah, I mean, that is just insane.
That happened.
That happened hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before. So anybody that thinks that anybody that thinks like, whoa, this is new. It's like, no, dude, Guy Fawkes was trying to do this literally hundreds of years ago. So anyway, it's still celebrated on Guy Fawkes Day. which is the 5th of November, and the kids walk around and they make this really cool, kind of like a straw man, almost, wouldn't you say? It's a highly flammable, like Burning Man, but English style and smaller. So they go around and they collect money for the guy, and that's why you get the phrase "penny for the guy" as well.
Yeah, because his name was Guido. His name was Guy. That was his name. That wasn't a word.
So that is the origin story of trick or treating, and then you mix that with the fact that the Northern Kingdom would go to the Southern Kingdom to party, and it made the king of the Northern Kingdom jealous in the Old Testament, and his name was Jeroboam. So he basically started saying, "Hey, we're going to throw our own party here. All right, you guys all want to
We're going to up the ante."
Yeah, we're going to up the ante." And he started throwing a party, but instead of glorifying God, he decided to glorify Baal, which was a consistent problem with the people of Israel in the Old Testament. And then that led to God just not being very happy with him.
Also, at that party, I wonder, were there like wallflowers there? Like, I'm not really liking this party. Like,
I mean, the drinks are great,
but doing with that golden calf again?
Yeah.
Is that where all my rings went?
The drinks are great, but when they burnt the child, they kind of lost me.
Yeah. It's just like, dude. So he tries to throw a fake party on behalf of Baal instead of God, and that really angers him. And he got multiple chances to quit.
Oh, yeah. The Lord sends a prophet. It's funny. There's a couple prophets that are unnamed in the book of Kings. It just says, and the Lord sent a prophet to him and says, you got to knock this off. And he's like, you can't tell me what to do. And so they send another one, and yeah.
Is one of them the lost teacher of righteousness? Have you ever heard about the lost teacher of righteousness?
No.
Yeah, there was a prophet in the Old Testament who warned that, and I think one of those unnamed prophets was what many scholars now will call the lost teacher of righteousness. He's unnamed because apparently he angered the king so much with his multiple prophecies that our enemies will come and destroy us despite our wealth and our strength, that this will so spiritually weaken us, this Baal worship and these parties that you're throwing and so on and so forth, that when the king had a chance to rewrite the texts after the empire came.
No way.
Yeah, that they erased his name from the records. And so that later groups that were trying to preserve the records and rewrite the scrolls were either inhibited from writing his name, or in order to preserve his prophecies, they would write down the prophecies, but they wouldn't say his name. They'd say it was the lost teacher of righteousness.
Dude, what?
And yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia article dedicated to him.
Yes.
He's called the lost teacher of righteousness, and he's a prophet of the Old Testament. And a lot of people think it's Zenock mentioned in the Book of Mormon.
Get out.
Yeah, that Zenock, whose prophecies are mentioned in the Book of Mormon and totally resemble the prophecies of the prophets who are saying, look, the tribes will be scattered and the Assyrians will come and take us over. And just like in the Book of Mormon, it says, oh, how could they say this great city of Jerusalem would be destroyed? For we are so mighty and God is with us and we are great. We can do whatever pagan thing we want. You know, that same attitude ultimately ended up being their downfall. And it angered the ruling class so badly that they forbade the scribes for repeating his name for like 2 or 3 generations until it was lost.
Wow.
And so the prophecies of Zenock and the city of Jerusalem are so similar to the prophecies of this era that you're talking about, that a lot of scholars have suspected that Zenock in the Book of Mormon is the lost teacher of righteousness.
Dude, that's a podcast. That's awesome.
Oh, dude, you know, we might have to do that on our next radio program, our next podcast. Speaking of which, you know, unfortunately, guys, we got a hard out coming up here. This has been an amazing start to our program, but unfortunately we're gonna have to go here in a second. But yeah, maybe we'll continue that in a future radio program. Was Zenock the lost teacher of righteousness?
That sounds like an awesome episode. But before we go, we'll leave you with this: a picture of the Ellis family trick or treating just this last Halloween. Brittany just put it in the Discord. It's adorable.
Okay. Is this
family is adorable.
No, that's not it.
No, that's actually the angel of death trick or treating.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, for those of you who are listening on the radio program, you have to make sure that you check us out indeed on YouTube as well under Ward Radio, where you can see some of these really funny visuals that we bring up.
Oh,
but there
look
is
at that.
indeed The Ellis family.
Okay, isn't that the
trick-or-treating.
creepiest thing? Those are like original trick-or-treaters. And
That's
I think
flippin' terrifying.
we need to bring back those costumes.
That is
like,
terrifying.
Those are the original trick-or-treaters?
okay, have you ever followed?
That's the scariest movie poster I've ever seen.
Have you ever looked at Lost in History pics on Instagram?
No.
Lost in History?
Oh, yes, I love it. Lost in History.
Yeah, so
vids,
these
Lost in
are
History
some
pics.
of the pics on Lost in History where she has like original trick-or-treaters and they're terrifying.
These people, this gives me nightmares. The first serial killer that dresses up like this is going down in history as the worst serial killer.
Like we need
this
to
is
step up our game.
Scarface mixed with not The Crow. This is, who is the skinny guy that was in 28 Days Later? Cillian Murphy, who played the Scarecrow in Batman. This is worse than the Scarecrow in Batman. This is hardcore.
See,
That is terrifying.
There's people walking out like Batman, and then you have these kinds of people.
Yeah. Like what happened, guys? Let's get back to the true spirit of Halloween. Let's get some kids soiling themselves. And
This is awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out with us. We will be back in a flash. This is Ward Radio. To check out more, look us up on wardradio.com.
Right now, tell me who you are, get in the car right now. You for the stars, I want it all right now.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with us. If you haven't had a chance yet, please like this video and consider sharing with your friends or subscribing. Also, there should be a video coming up right about here or here where you can continue watching. If you want to visit us on Twitter, we're at Ward Radio Show. If you want to check us out online, we're at wardradio.com. And if you'd like to consider contributing to the program, please check us out at Midnight Mormons or at Ward Radio Show on Venmo. That's one of the best ways you can contribute to the program. Either way, we're glad to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us, and always check out more on wardradio.com.